And welcome to the Town of Osoyoos public hearing, March the 2nd, 2020, in council chambers at 4 p.m. I am going to read the statement of the chair first. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in the Official Community Plan, OCP, Amendment Bylaw number 1230.25/2020 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1085.127/2020. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. When speaking, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If they wish, the members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that he is unable to provide within that time frame, he shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until it has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may without further notice give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this hearing. Confirmation of advertising and posting requirements. Notice of this public hearing was given in accordance with the Local Government Act and the Community Charter by distributing the notice as follows. Publishing in 2 consecutive editions of the Osoyoos Times on February the 13th and February the 20th, 2020. Placing the notice on the bulletin boards in the town office and Planning and Development Services Department on February the 13th. Posting the notice on the town's website on February the 14th and distributing via e-news on February the 18th, 2020. Notification to the owners and or tenants of the public hearing meeting was mailed on February the 14th or otherwise delivered to properties within a 60-meter radius of the subject property on February the 15th. A summary of the staff report. The purpose of this meeting is to seek public input on Official Community Plan Bylaw number 1230.25/2020 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1085.127/2020, which received first and second reading on January the 20th. So the Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw proposes to change the OCP from agricultural AG to intensive residential development, IRD, on property legally described as Lot 2, District Lot 2450S, SDYD Plan 5584, except Plan 9055, that would be 10129 74th Avenue, Meadowlark Phase 2. The Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1085.127/2020 proposes to change the zoning from agricultural AG to intensive residential development on property legally described as Lot 2, District Lot 2450S, SDYD Plan 5584, except Plan 9055, 10129 74th Avenue, Meadowlark Phase 2. Now, with all those numbers, I'm now going to turn over to Ms. McKay to give the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor Mayon. Chuck. Thank you, Mayor McCordock. Okay, so, thanks everybody for coming this evening. So the owner of the property is Cherry Lake Enterprises, and the applicant for this proposal is Mr. Hart Buckendall, and I believe Mr. Buckendall is in the audience this evening. As previously stated by the mayor, there's two rezoning, or two bylaws associated with this proposal. The first is for a change in the OCP designation, and the second is for the change in the zoning. So we're just kind of getting to having a conversation about that. Okay, so a bit of the site overview. So the subject property is within the southeast Meadowlark plan area. The property is being utilized as a fruit orchard and a single-family dwelling. The property abuts the north end of the Kettle Pond, and the developable portion of the property is about 1.2 hectares or 3 acres in size. As part of the subdivision process, the applicant will be having an environmental assessment prepared to determine the required building setback from the pond. A conservation covenant will be registered on the foreshore area of the pond in order to protect the habitat of the species that live in and near the pond and frequent the area. The pond itself will be dedicated to the town and preserved as a natural habitat. And I know that has come up a couple of times in conversations in the community. I just want to let everybody know that we are aware of that, and we have been working with the applicant since the application was made to ensure the values of the pond are preserved. Okay, so the proposed development consists of a mix of residential uses. A total of 27 lots are included in the draft plan of subdivision. A minimum of 8 secondary suites will be included within the single-family homes. The development will provide 4 duplexes, that is 8 residential units, which will contribute to the town's near-market housing program. The proposal provides a total of 23 single-family homes, 8 units within 4 duplexes, and a minimum of 8 suites, thus providing the minimum of 39 residential units, which is in conformance with the medium density requirements as outlined in the plan. With respect to the zoning bylaw, implementation of the Southeast Meadowlark plan was contingent on including an intensive residential development zone within the town's zoning bylaw. The IRD zone, as we call it, was designated specifically to meet the vision of the plan by allowing for a mix of residential units and uses within the zone. As such, the IRD zone allows for a variety of housing forms. For example, small lot, single detached houses, 2-family, that is duplex houses, low-rise apartments, row housing, etc. The location of these housing forms within each development will be defined in the development permit for each individual proposal or subdivision. In other words, the development permit, which will be coming forward to council in the draft form, will be at their next meeting. As noted above, the proposal for this phase 2 will consist of a mix of single-family homes and 4 duplex units, which is in conformance with the Meadowlark plan. So with respect to the Southeast Meadowlark plan, this plan was pre-identified in the OCP as a potential future growth area which could become available for development with Agricultural Land Commission concurrence. The Commission recognized the area has already been cut up by scattered development and no longer offers good potential for agriculture. However, the Commission required that a plan be submitted for their review which establishes a broad range of suitable land uses, including mixed housing forms. My mic's on. Tap, tap. Why is it not on? It's the lights on. Lights are on, but no one's on. It's a shame. Check, it's not working. No, it's
it has to be on granite on. Uh-oh. Maybe it wasn't plugged in properly.
No, that's mine.
Yeah.
Hello.
There you go.
I'm not starting again.
Thank you.
I knew you'd appreciate. Besides, we're doing another one. Okay, so just so everybody understands, okay, so we're talking about the Commission required a plan be submitted for the review, which establishes a broad range of suitable land uses, including mixed housing forms and tenures. The road patterns and edge planning guidelines for each the west, south, north, and ALR boundaries. So the plan was prepared in response to the Commission's need to guide future development of the area. Okay, so the plan was actually prepared in response to the Commission's request. The commission endorsed the plan in April of 2010, and it was used to support the town's successful application for approval in principle from the commission to release the ALR lands over time, and that included the first phase, which we see constructed now. With respect to the subdivision and development servicing bylaw, compliance with the bylaw is required of a subdivision approval. The applicant has met with the town's engineer and the director of operations regarding the site servicing, inclusive of road dedication requirements, water, sewer, and stormwater management. Further details on servicing are addressed through the subdivision approval process. So let's talk about the agricultural land reserve designation. In October of 2010, the commission approved the exclusion of the 16-hectare southeast Meadowlark area as a staged approach. The commission was not prepared to exclude the land outright because of concerns that the medium density developed in the southeast Meadowlark plan area would not occur. So instead, the commission supported excluding parcels upon confirmation proper zoning was in place that reflected the southeast Meadowlark plan area, including a minimum of 30 units per hectare. The town has been successful in obtaining approval in principle from the ALC for excluding lands over time from the ALR on an as-needed basis, subject to the confirmation that the proposed developments are consistent with the area plan policies. Of special concern to the commission are policies for reaching a target of about 30 units per hectare, sufficient inclusion of affordable housing units, and incorporating agricultural buffering to protect surrounding lands, which will stay in the ALR. So the process as outlined in the Southeast Meadowlark plan and agreed to by the commission is as follows. In response to a development application in Southeast Meadowlark, Council will consider giving up to third reading for an OCP bylaw amendment to extend the town's urban growth boundary around the subject property, and for OCP and zoning bylaw amendments to allow for intensive residential development uses on the property. Then, at third reading of the amending bylaw, Council will review the preliminary information required for the issuance of an intensive residential development permit and for the draft housing agreement, which is will be similar to the one that was registered on the properties in the first phase of the Meadowlark plan area. Following successful third reading, staff reports and relevant information will be referred to the ALC for confirmation of support to exclude the subject property from the ALR. The zoning bylaw amendment will also be forwarded to the Ministry of Transportation and Infrastructure for approval. So Ministry of Transportation must approve bylaws before final adoption. Following successful ALC confirmation and MOT approval for the zoning amendment, Council will consider adopting the bylaw amendments and concurrent approval of the associated intensive residential development permit, as well as town approval to sign a housing agreement with the developer to dedicate a minimum of 15% of the units to meet the criteria as set out in the plan for below market sale or rental residential units. Following successful final adoption, the town will request the ALC to advise the registrar of land titles that the property has been excluded from the ALR. So that is the process that's in the plan, and it's the process that was agreed to by the Agricultural Land Commission. So staff are in support of the proposed development, which is considered as implementation of phase 2 of the Meadowlark plan. The plan itself had extensive community review and has been designed to help address community housing needs by providing a variety of housing forms and tenures within a limited land base. The proposed phase 2 meets the guidelines of the plan by contributing to the near market housing stock and then entering into a housing agreement for a minimum of 6 of the duplex units. With respect to implications for the community, following consultation process was followed in preparation of the Southeast Meadowlark plan. So an affordable housing strategy was completed parallel with the plan, with input from a community volunteer task force, questionnaire survey, and public open house. Following council review, a draft of the plan was referred to the Provincial Agricultural Land Commission and the Ministry of Transportation for review according to their respective mandates. The draft plan was then taken to a public open house on February 11th, 2010, and then to a public hearing on March 15th, 2010. The final plan was adopted by Council on April 6, 2010. Now, it is anticipated that the community will benefit from additional units being provided through the town's near market housing program, the addition of the new secondary suites and those units in the near market housing program. Organizationally, the preliminary development proposal package was forwarded to outside agencies, including the Ministry of Transportation, Fortis BC, TELUS, etc., for comment. No concerns have been raised to date. Preliminary approval from the Ministry of Transportation was provided on January 17th, 2020, after which I followed up with a phone call with the representative from the Ministry of Transportation, who determined that there was no need for a traffic impact assessment, as the numbers in the phase 1, 2, and 3 combined did not warrant it. A notice of the development sign was posted on the subject property, and notification of the public hearing was mailed and delivered to properties within 60 meters of the town's, as per the town's land use procedures bylaw. There's no impacts to the budget associated with this report or with this development proposal at this time. Further consideration may be given to improving road access along 74th Avenue. And that would be dependent on how many units are developed over time. As per Section 475 Local Government Act, when considering amendment to an OCP, a local government must provide one or more opportunities in addition to the public hearing for appropriate consultation with persons. A public meeting was held on February 11th at the Sonora Center, and I attached to my report some comments received at that meeting. Sustainability. The proposal helps address community sustainability goals by providing additional housing forms and tenures, and by preserving the natural habitat of the Kettle Pond. So there are no options provided with this report. It's for information purposes only for council at this time. Thank you, Mayor McCorroff.
Thank you, Ms. McKay. I'm going to now point out that there has been some correspondence received. There was, which is included in the package, there was a letter from Sharon Pittet dated February the 20th, 2020. There was a video submission from Isla Petreny-Mackenzie, which Richard McGuire took, and there is a letter from Isla Petreny-Mackenzie and Ralph Petreny, and I have one late submission here. Mrs. Hilson, I'm just wondering, is it the wish of this meeting to show the video, or is that Mr. Chabot? What do you?
Your Worship, if the person that submitted it wants to speak first and then play the video, oh, she's not here.
But
she send a representative?
Yes, Mr. McGuire is here, and he was the one who took.
I think a bunch of us watched
the video speaks for itself. It's 2.5 minutes long.
Okay, so it has been available and people could have listened to it.
We can show it, Your Worship, if you like. 2.5 minutes. There's folks here who probably haven't seen it.
Should we wait until Mr. McGuire comes up, or would you like to show it now? Let's show it right now, and then everybody can have a look at it. This was done on the pond. Thank you.
I guess I've said too much.
Maybe we need some new ones eventually.
Bottom middle.
The middle,
Bottom at the middle.
Yeah, no, it was just, there was another sound.
Unique Kettle Pond here in Osoyoos, and it's an oasis for wildlife. Finstag's Pond is located just west of Highway 97 between the new fire hall and the Baptist Church, and it's right in the epicenter of a proposed housing development, namely Meadowlark Phase 2. So my name is Isla Petreny-Mackenzie, and I've lived overlooking the pond, the Finstag's Pond, for the last 30 years. And I've tried to be a guardian and an advocate for this unique and special ecosystem. This unique ecosystem is set in the midst of peach and cherry orchards, and it allows ease of access for animals to come down from the hills to feed and to drink. And for the animals, indeed all the wildlife, it's a safe place, it's a haven. Sandhill cranes land here to feed. Ospreys come regularly to fish. Herons land and fish here. Loons pause here to preen and re-oil their wings. Hooded mergansers come here to breed. Red-winged blackbirds reside here in the bulrushes. There is a healthy population of resident painted turtles. Frogs and other amphibians use particularly the north end of the pond where the vegetation is natural. They breed here. Deer come down to stop and drink. In fact, a huge variety of wildlife comes and goes. As Sawyers allows new housing development, I just feel that I need to speak out for the pond because this pond cannot speak for itself. I just ask that we need to consider the needs of the creatures that already live here. It's not enough just to protect the water. We also need to protect the shoreline ecosystem that the animals so depend on. I urge Council to make approval of this development contingent on a conservation covenant, acknowledging this endangered ecosystem and protecting this precious natural resource for perpetuity.
Thank you very much for that. Thank you, Mr. McGuire, for taking that. It certainly shows the variety of wildlife that is certainly part of Finkstag's Pond. And those of us who've lived here for a long time certainly appreciate all of the animals and the birds that frequent that. So thank you. I have one more letter which came in recently, and I will read that because it's not part of the agenda package. This is Town Council. Dear Town Council, I'd like to request a traffic impact assessment be done before moving forward with the Meadowlark Phase 2 and Phase 3 developments and other proposed phases on the southeast side of Highway 97. As the highway will be the main crossing for these intensive residential developments, which are targeting working households with children, we need to ensure that it and its access roads can safely accommodate the significant increase in both vehicle and pedestrian traffic. The roads of concern include, but are not limited to, 74th Avenue, which will be the main access road from the developments to the highway. It is located at the crest of the highway, has no sidewalks except in front of the Osoyoos Fire Hall, and has no traffic signal lights, crosswalks, pedestrian crossing lights, or overpass. Wren Place, which is the secondary access road from the Meadowlark Phase 1 development, has no sidewalk street lighting, including on the highway, and is located a short distance from a blind curve. And 62nd Avenue, which is already a primary intersection, has no traffic signal lights, has multiple on-off access points to and from the highway, and is near a blind curve approaching the intersection. The assessment should also include Hummingbird Lane, as it will be the main turning crossing point from the highway to the Sun Bowl Arena, Osoyoos Skate Park, and Osoyoos Curling Club, but has no sidewalks, traffic signal lights, crosswalks, or pedestrian crossing lights. Traffic impact assessments are a valuable tool for analyzing traffic generated by developments. A well-prepared traffic impact assessment will help the town and developer forecast the traffic impacts and safety issues created by the proposed developments based on accepted practices, not perceptions, determine improvements needed to accommodate the increase in vehicle and pedestrian traffic, relate land use decisions with traffic conditions, evaluate the number, locations, and design of access points, and identify needed roadway improvements. I hope that you will make the right decision, and thank you for your consideration. Regards, Colleen Litton. So we do have those 4 items in correspondence, and I will now let us deal with presentations. Thank you very much. So I have the list here, and I'm going to allow people to come up to the microphone. As was said, please state your name and your address, and we will go through this. Please know that we will be identifying when 5 minutes is up, and if, as I said before, and we will then go on to the next person. If there is time at the end and you wish to further add something new to your presentation, you will be allowed to do that. Okay, so first on the list is Colleen Litton, who I'm sorry, the applicant, of course, is next. Mr. Buckendall, would you like to come and speak? You're looking very tanned, sir. Have you been somewhere nice and warm?
Well,
Thank you.
good afternoon,
Thank
Your Worship and
Thank you.
councillors. I thank you very much for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure working with staff and with council to get to this point. And certainly we're looking forward to the continuation, because with the first phase that we did, it turned out very, very successfully. We have a lot of people that are very, very happy, particularly once we got rolling and got everything sort of straightened out with the near housing costs and the schedules that we had. We already have 5 people that are firmed up, that if this thing goes ahead, that are anxious to do a similar thing and take advantage of the program that's going to be in place once this is done. And we're excited that things are moving along. We've been pretty steady at it, and we're really looking forward to getting started as soon as possible. We know it's going to take its time, go through all the loops it's got to go through, and we're okay and prepared to do that. But certainly the people are waiting, and I know if we've got 5 that are there now before we've even broken ground, there's going to be a lot of others, because the interest has been very strong. So with the continued cooperation, and we're certainly cooperating, I do want to stress that we as a developer are giving up over 2 acres of land for conservation. For sure the shorefront, and altogether it's over 2 acres on the pond, and that's a lot out of 5 acres to give up, and I don't think there's anything that's ever been precedented before for people doing a subdivision giving up that much land. So it was a hefty amount to give up, and we're glad to do so. We, just like the residents and the people that are concerned about the pond, are concerned as well. However, I think everybody should know that it is an unnatural waterway. It doesn't have an inlet or an outlet, as was done by the assessment that we have done. And over the years, it has dropped in overall level, because with orchards coming out, there's less water seeping in, and the water level will go down. So that's just the way it is, and it will come up again once people get lawns in and stuff like that. But right now, we're excited, and so are the people that are waiting for it. I won't take any more of your time, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming, and as you can see, there are a number of people here who may have some concerns or questions. So I think it's very good that you are here to listen to those as well as council.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I will go now down to the list, and Colleen Litton. Thank you. And I should have let you read the letter. I didn't realize that you were here, that you could, but you can certainly come and speak to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff, and thank you for reading that. I knew I'd sent it, and I appreciate it. So my main thing is we just moved to Meadowlark Phase 1 within the last 6 months, and we moved from what I call the other side of the highway. We were down on Cottonwood by the lake, walking distance to everywhere. And one of my comments to Paul all the time was, I never see kids around. And the demographics of Osoyoos is 60 plus, really on the basic high side. My main concern is that having lived here, or living up on the north side in the Meadowlark for the last 6 months, is the traffic. Now, I'm still capable of crossing a highway and looking both ways, but if you're planning to put 290 some odd family-oriented with small children, your elementary schools and all your services, shopping, community services are on the other side. There is nothing really on that side of the highway, even to get to the bowling alley or the gym if you want, a grocery store. There's no sidewalks. There's very limited lighting. I came home the other night in the dark and I couldn't find Wren Place. I knew where it was, and I think it was the post office boxes that sort of showed me the way, but it's a very dark corner, and you're only talking 0.7 kilometers between 74th and 62nd. And there's a lot of blind spots, there's a lot of curve, and a lot of traffic coming from the border. And I've only lived through the winter up there, not the summer. And the concerns are people, and if you're targeting young families, it's not cheap up there. I mean, the houses will be $500,000 plus. And these people will have to drive their kids to the community centers, to the schools, to the library, to the lake, to shopping, to everything. So that will just really increase. Meadowlark Phase 1, I can only name, I think, 5 houses that actually have children. So it may be targeting young families, but it's retirees who can still do stairs that are going there. So I thank you. I'm just very concerned if we don't have sidewalks, if we don't have some proper crossways, lighting, one day there will be a disaster. And I thank you for listening and for including that in your agenda.
Thank you very much. Okay, the next person is somebody over there keeping an eye on? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Knew we'd find a job for you. Karen Cook. And I'm sorry, Colleen did not mention her address and 7006 Wren Drive. Did you get that?
Lot
Okay.
21.
Okay. Karen Cook, is Karen here? Yes. Oh, please come up. Oh, this was a talking sheet. It was for, would you like to add it? Oh, all right, no problem. You don't have to. I did that once too, and they called me up to speak, and I said, no, I'm not speaking. But anyway, I'd signed the wrong sheet. Okay. Ken and Diane Botherill.
Good evening. I
Hi.
don't know we're on the talking sheet, so since my sister put me on there, I guess I'll talk.
Well, you go ahead.
Might be sorry I did, I don't know. Anyways, this is my husband, Ken, and I. We moved in last May to 8 Ravencourt, and we love the area.
Honestly, my only concern was, even before the homes were, before I even knew about homes going in there, was the crossing that, I'm sorry, Colleen had mentioned. And Dave is my neighbor, the fire chief, and I've mentioned it to him, and it is a little sketchy, that one crossing. The other ones I don't bother with. I usually don't go out the other way, but just pulling out in my vehicle, it's a look. I mean, it's they come around there pretty fast. That's my only concern. Other than that, we love it. I mean, we walk across all the time. Don't have a problem. I can look both ways, but yeah, no, everything else is great.
And we are happy to see young families moving into the area. I think it's good for the economy. So, and I think the houses are well built, and we love it.
Good.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to Asuyas.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that people realize that the highway does not belong to the town. It belongs to the Department of Highways. So we do have to deal with them anytime that we're going across a highway. Hart, you already spoke. So did you need to speak again? No? Okay, thank you. I'm just going in order on the list here. That's all. Eileen McGinn.
Hi there. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council and staff. Thank you. My name is Isla McGinn. I live at 9-4110 36th Avenue. And just wanted to talk on behalf of the folks that we've sold to. I know Ken and Diane and Ed and Karen. You know, one moved out from Saskatchewan and fell in love with the place, and then their sister joined, or no, one moved from Surrey and then their sister joined them. They loved the area so much. I too am always concerned about crossing. As you know, you've heard me, I live on the East Bench, and I have the same concern on Lakeshore Drive, which has over 1,200 campsites coming off of it every year. So it's always a concern. I know it's something that has to be addressed through the community, but I know that it is a major concern for anybody crossing any highway anywhere in the community. But I also went out yesterday and I met with a couple of the folks that I know we thought a lot more young families would move in there, like you were saying there because of the stairs in the place, but you know, all 4 of the homes that went to below market value housing all went to young couples that wouldn't have stayed in our community if they hadn't had the opportunity to buy those homes. I was fortunate to sell every one of them. Didn't take commission, as Hart will tell you, on a couple of the homes when we first got the project rolling, because we were enthusiastic about having that opportunity for a young family. And Deep was going to come here today because he was so excited. He was when he first applied for the application, he had just about finished his citizenship process, and he was a landed immigrant, I believe, at the time, and just as he got accepted, he got his Canadian citizenship, and they celebrated down at Watermark. He said to me yesterday, Eileen, if it hadn't have been for this program, I wouldn't have stayed at Watermark. I wouldn't have stayed in the town. His family lived here over 12 years, paid taxes, is thrilled to be able to, you know, own the place. Silky and Sean Van Horn live in the one next door to him, same thing. So I think that I know there's a lot of concerns about the nature and I think giving back, you know, the area that Hart's given back is a huge asset to the community. But I think having that affordable housing, or near market housing we call it now, is a huge impact on the lives of those 4 young couples that moved in there. Now some of them haven't had kids yet, but I understand there's some on the way. And then, you know, Karmadeep and her family were one of the first ones I sold to over there, a young family with young kids. I mean, even our fire chief bought from Kevin Primo, was thrilled to be able to live close to home, and his wife could watch him across the street. But it's been a great community. I think it's there's very limited housing available, and I know a lot of the houses that they're going to do are entry level, which are something that is really, really in need of in this community. You know, entry level homes and affordable. So it's a great mix. I think that we can have seniors love mixing with the kids in the community, as Colleen was saying there earlier, that I think it's a great opportunity. It's a great area. If we can solve some of the issues, like maybe the traffic safety, that's one thing down the road. But as far as the community goes, you know, I went and knocked on doors of a bunch of the people in the community yesterday, and every one of them said that they would never look back, you know, that it was a great opportunity, and they thanked Hart for the, you know, the quality of the homes and the value when you look at them to the value of a lot of the products that are in the market here in town. It's been a great asset, and certainly, you know, hats off to the town for putting together that project for near market value, because I haven't, you know, I saw one in Alberta like it, but when you see how that impacts the lives, and you look at, you know, those young couples have all got like a $65,000, you know, up on you know, equity value in their homes, and they're thrilled with it. So I thank you for the opportunity, you guys, and I hope that together we can make this a community that will thrive for the future in Osoyoos.
Thank you very much. Paul Averns? No, yes? Would you like to? No. Okay, we just had your name down on the list, that's all. Sharon Pittet.
I reside at 7003 Meadowlark Drive. I've been at that location for 20 years, and over the years have seen many forms of wildlife that come and make their home there. It's a pleasure to be able to witness that, and I would really hate to see anything as far as development come in and destroy what we already have. I do want to make a clarification with Mr. Burkendale's comment about the water level that has not dropped, or that the water level has dropped. It has not dropped. In the 20 years that I've been there, it fluctuates. In the summer, it rises greatly with the irrigation that you get from the orchard on the north side, which will no longer be there. In the winter, at this time, it's at its lowest point. And speaking with Ms. McKay this morning, I mentioned that I would like to see something happen with the town, and that hopefully there will be a plan in place to ensure that that level does not recede. That if it does, that the town will do something to make sure that the pond will always be there.
Thank you very much. Chad Jensen.
Hello, I'm at 49 Willow Crescent in Osoyoos. My name is Chad Jensen, lifetime resident, part owner of South Okanagan Concrete Products. I grew up in this neighborhood. It was 7409 95th Street, which is a long time ago now. I swam, I fished, I played hockey on this pond. I know the area very well. I am in full support of this project. Our town is in desperate need of more housing. This project will help to clean up the area, continue with the progression of the controlled urban growth. The fire hall, homes, or Meadowlark, I guess, homes, and now the Silva home looks great and brings back life into the area. We have gone a little bit backwards in the area with surrounding rundown old greenhouses, vacant picker shacks. This isn't what I remember growing up in the area. I played throughout all the orchards and all through there. Let's continue to breathe some life into the area. The new fire hall, the dance studio, the kids back in the neighborhood. It's a pretty good sound for everyone to hear, young and old. The cost of new building is on the rise. $1 million build is very common nowadays. I see it all the time being in the industry and building my own home. Dividend Ridge is filling up. Very few lots that are left are economically feasible to build on. To be able to build a new home without major groundwork, rock hammering, screw piles, full geotech, it's a must to keep the housing pricing into a marketable value. We need more housing to attract families, young professionals to our town. Daily, I'm looking for more tradespeople to work at the shop. I have customers that are looking for other employees. It's all the time. And these are good jobs. They're very good jobs. They're out there. The first thing they do when they apply and they get a chance to look into it is they look for a home. Rental is very scarce, very expensive. Purchasing a new home now is starting to make a little more sense in our area if something like this is available to them. There's more projects planned for the reserve. It's a loss to the town itself, a benefit to the whole area, but this would be great to see some projects happening in town, and let's make this happen. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. I do have next the applicant. If the applicant wanted to respond to anything here, that you have that opportunity, Mr. Buckendall. I'm not sure whether there was anything that you wanted to respond to or not.
Well, I just do want to thank again, and there's a lot of interest, as you can see, in the product, and like I can only say thank you for what happened in phase 1, which was very beneficial for those people, and I hope we can just continue and do it in phase 2 as well, trying to keep the homes below market value for many, many people that can get in. So it's kudos for everybody, and like Chad said, it is actually kind of nice that they're within the town boundaries, because we often see development in the outside areas. We don't get the direct benefit from it, and this makes it nice. It's in Osoyoos. Taxes will stay in Osoyoos, and hopefully some of the issues that have been talked about, like road crossing and that, I know that was an issue when the fire hall was built, that they dealt with highways and maybe with more homes, what the town had proposed and wanted at that time. Highways might see light to do it. We would certainly support that. But the one thing that strikes me the most is when you do come out on 74th onto the highway, you can't see cars coming because of a hedge that's there. And I think there should be something done very soon to remove that hedge. We've had close calls with you can't see the cars because there's a dip, and it would be nice. I don't know whose responsibility it is if that hedge is on highways property and you can just go and whack it down. But for sure, something should happen with that, because that is for sure a danger point. And I would endorse what was said just previously, to try to do something to make it better. And that's it. So thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you very much. Ms. McKay, do you have anything to add to that? I do know that that there have been times when we have talked to the Department of Highways about, for instance, Cottonwood. That stoplight was put in there after a great deal of effort on behalf of the town and town staff, and showing the need to have that in there. It certainly, in the future, could be looked at if there was a need. We just, as you pointed out, there isn't something there at the moment. Okay.
Question?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor King.
Ms. McKay, with those hedges there right on the corner, would you know if they're actually on private property, or are they infringing on highways?
Thank you, Councillor King. Through the chair, I've driven up there many times myself, and I concur that particularly those hedges seem to be in the way. It is kind of a double-edged sword, because it does make you stop and to kind of inch forward to make sure nothing's coming, instead of going like this and doing a California stop or whatever they call it in this town. But I think we'd have to do a request to trim those back certainly would be warranted, and we can see where it goes for sure.
So you're implying they're on private property then?
Well, I don't know for sure. They could be on the highway right away. It's difficult to say.
We could look into that then?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone else, council, that has a question of anybody? I'm going to now ask the public if they have anything that they wish to add and to speak to this application. Would you please come up to the microphone and state your name and your address, please?
Sure. Colin Ethier, I live on 25th Street, 3002. I just wanted to add with the highway running through there. If there's any way to slow, I know it's maximum 60 in that area, but most people treat it like the highway. So if there's any way that there's a way to even make it known that it is 60, I think that would help with a lot of the crossing of the highway. So I work for Mr. Buckendahl, do a lot of building for him, and I'm crossing that street 3 or 4 times a day. And yeah, I think if we can just get people slowing down, make it less of a highway, more of a town street, it'd be a lot better. So
okay. I noticed Ms. McKay is taking notes, so that certainly would be looked at if necessary, for sure. So I'm going to ask for the second time. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this application? Would you like to come back up to the microphone? Please do so.
Just on another topic.
You would need to come to the microphone. If it's this application only, we can only take something on this. Is that what it is? Has to do with this application?
Not mine.
Oh, the application for the rezoning, the community, or okay, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah. Hi, Colleen Litton again, 7006 Wren Drive, Soyuz. One of the things, again, with targeting young families with children and affordable housing now. 4 subsidized houses do not make affordable. We paid over $600,000 for ours, and on part of that Wren Drive, they're $550 plus. I look every day at MLS, and there are a lot of other opportunities near the elementary school, safer areas close to town, Sonora Center, those sorts of places. So I'm not seeing this as a family development. It's great to provide that sort of environment, but up there's no parks, there's no anything. So to me, the demographics, again, are targeting seniors. I work at a motel in the area, and I get people from Saskatchewan, Halifax every day coming to look to retire here. So to me, it's more of a retirement community bungalow-type developments, which, you know, young families can go into a 3-bedroom development, maybe a bit more yard. Our yards now in Meadowlark Phase 1 on Wren Drive, the kids can't run between. There's no way. I mean, they're going to, you know, they break their neck to run between. So it's just that, to me, Osoyoos is more of a 60-plus. Development's fine. Stay away from the pond. Do a nice park setting with some more attracting seniors, because they're the ones coming in and paying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Just to point out that in the first Meadowlark phase, there is a park that is going in, a children's park. We're just waiting for the housing to be completed before the park goes in. There has been. And in the next development as well, there will be some parks as part of that. So I'm going to ask now for, do I have to start again? Mrs. Hill, I do, I have to, okay. So we'll ask for the first time if there's anyone wishing to speak to the application.
I'd like to.
Go ahead.
Catherine Grieve, I live at 7600 Cottonwood Drive. We moved here 6 years ago, and to me, a $450,000 house is not affordable. I'm a young professional, so is my husband. I have many friends that are young professionals. When we first came here, you could get a decent house for $350,000, and that was doable. I think the reason that this development is not attracting families is because even with the subsidy, it's too much. I feel we need more rental units. I feel that you should be able to rent a place for $1,000 to $1,200 a month year-round, not $1,600 to $1,700. And I'm talking with a family income of $100,000. And that's actually quite a bit for a lot of young people in this community. I would love to see more young people coming to this community. We have a great, vibrant group of friends ourselves. And I'd say for us, a $450,000 house is just too much. So I'd just like to speak to that.
Thank you very much. Ms. McKay, would you like to mention the OCP housing?
I'm sorry, Mayor McCordoff?
That the OCP review and we're doing a housing needs assessment.
Sure.
Would that be a good time to mention
I'd
that?
be happy to
Yes,
speak
thank you.
to that. So many of you may be aware we're doing an official community plan review at this moment. And as part of that review, we are doing a housing needs report. We have done the baseline work on that report, and we do recognize that for the most part, you know, housing is unattainable in our community, which is no different than any other community in British Columbia. The challenge, of course, is that technically there's only really 2 types of housing, or I should say. There's market housing, whether it's market rental or market purchase, and then there's subsidized housing. So if you want to pay something less than market value, that means that somebody's subsidizing it. So those are options that we're looking into, including opportunities to work with developers on some of the town-owned properties in the future to develop for some subsidized housing, which would be below market housing. So that's a conversation that we'll be having later, and I would hope that people that are interested in that subject will come out to our next meeting at the official community plan. So that was a great plug for me. Thank you, Mayor McGuire.
Yes, it was. Thank you very much. And several people had mentioned it, so I thought it was a good time to put that in there. All right, so I will start again. So I will ask for the first time if there's anyone who wishes to speak to this application. Please come up to the microphone.
I think this is a pertinent question.
Okay.
My name is Barb Stevens, and I do not live in town. I live at Kapula Park Estates. My question, I think, is for the developer. I think you mentioned that the environmental study has been completed for the pond? So what I was wondering was, whether that report will be made available to us, and who the environmental professional is. And then just to clarify, the 2 acres out of the 5 that are being given up that you mentioned, where those 2 acres are exactly. Is that just shoreline on the northern edge? Or is that is that 2 acres with this specific development, phase 2, or is that including further developments? That would be my questions.
Yeah, thank you. We're not going to answer questions, but I will give Mr. Buckendall an opportunity if he would like to answer that. Or I'm not sure whether that's something that you would care to answer or not now, Mr. Buckendall.
There was 2 questions asked. The first one was about
You
the
need,
report.
you need to come up, please. Thank you. No? This, he can speak on this if you wish to. I don't want to put you on the spot.
No, you're not putting me on the spot. The report isn't finished for the environmental, but there is an environmental report being done. It's in the works, so it's
Okay.
not open for public yet because there'll be changes made or
Okay,
whatever
yeah.
is necessary.
Thank you.
And the land that's being given up, it goes right to, I would guess, maybe 150, 200 feet into the lake. We own a good chunk of the lake. And we own the shorefront for a large distance beyond what the orchard is. If you look on the map, it goes in front of another house towards the west. And all that is proposed to be given up for habitat preservation. So it's in the works, and
Yes.
nothing at this point is finalized, and that's the purpose of these meetings we're having.
Good. No, we appreciate you,
Yeah.
you pointing that out. Thank you very
I hope
much.
that explains it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll start again then. Because I have to, it tells me this. So I will ask for the first time if anyone wishes to speak to the application. I will ask for a second time if anyone wishes to speak to the application. And I will ask a third time if anyone wishes to speak to the application. Hearing no one, I will ask for a motion, please, to adjourn this meeting. Councillor King, Councillor Bennett. So this particular meeting is adjourned, and I will give a couple of minutes, and we will start the second public hearing. The statement of the chair. This public hearing is convened pursuant to Section 464 of the Local Government Act, RSBC 2015, to allow the public to make representation to council respecting matters contained in the Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1230.26/2020 and Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1085.128/2020. Every person present who believes that their interest in property is affected by the proposed bylaw shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard respecting matters contained in the proposed bylaw. None of you will be discouraged or prevented from making your views known. However, it is important that you restrict your remarks to matters contained in the proposed bylaw. When speaking, please proceed to the microphone and commence your remarks by clearly stating your name and address. If they wish, members of council may ask you questions following your presentation. However, the function of council at this public hearing is to listen to you rather than to debate the merits of the proposed bylaw. In accordance with the council procedure bylaw, presentations by members of the public shall be limited to a maximum of 5 minutes each. If a person has additional information that he is unable to provide within that time frame, he shall be given further opportunity to address council after all other interested members of the public have been heard a first time. Please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion during this public hearing so that we may ensure as impartial a hearing as possible. After this public hearing is adjourned, council members will not speak to the public on this matter until after the matter has been dealt with at a public meeting. After this public hearing has concluded, council may, without further notice, give whatever effect council believes proper to the representations made at this meeting. So confirmation of advertising and posting requirements. Notice of this public hearing was given in accordance with the Local Government Act and the Community Charter by distributing the notice as follows. Publishing in 2 consecutive editions of the Asturias Times on February the 3rd and February the 20th. Placing the notice on the bulletin boards at Town Office and Planning and Development Services Department on February the 13th, 2020. Posting the notice on the town's website on February the 14th, 2020, and distributing via e-news on February the 20th. Notification to the owners and/or tenants of the public hearing meeting was mailed February the 14th and/or otherwise delivered to properties within a 60-meter radius of the subject property on February the 15th. A summary of the staff report. Purpose of this meeting is to seek public input on official community plan bylaw number 1230.26 and zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.128 2020, which received first and second reading on January the 20th. Official community plan amendment bylaw number 1230.26 change the OCP from agriculture AG to intensive residential development on property legally described as Lot 3, District Lot 2450S, SDYD, Plan KAP 8673, 10105 74th Avenue, Meadowlark Phase 3. And the zoning amendment bylaw 1085.126 changed the zoning from agriculture to intensive residential development on property legally described as Lot 3, District Lot 2450S, SDYD, Plan KAP 8673, 10105 74th Avenue, Meadowlark Phase 3. So I will now ask Ms. McKay to give the staff report.
Thank you, Mayor McCordoff. So the owner of this subject property is Petreny-Mackenzie, Isla, and the applicant is Dexter Harabi, and Dexter was supposed to be here as a planner with WSB Consulting Services, so I'm not sure why he's not arrived from the Lower Mainland. So I'm not going to go over the same details with respect to the process, etc., because they are the same for both the proposals. But what I will speak to is specifically the site context of this particular proposal versus the one for phase 2. So the proposal now, this is for phase 3 of Meadowlark plan area. There's plans on the table over there if anybody would like to have one. So the subject property is within the Southeast Meadowlark plan area. The property is currently occupied with a single-family home that faces 74th Avenue. Older greenhouses were recently removed, and I'm sure that people that live in the area were thankful of that. It's been in excess of 5 years since this site was used for agricultural purposes. Some locals have told me even longer. So the property lies north of proposal for phase 2 of the plan and has road access from 74th Avenue and from Wren Drive. So the developable portion of the property is approximately 1.9 acres in size, or 0.8 of a hectare. The proposed development consists of a mix of residential units. A total of 18 individual lots are included in the draft plan of subdivision. A minimum of 8 secondary suites will be included within the single-family homes. The development also provides for a threeplex which will be maintained by the owner and provide for rental accommodation. The proposal provides for a total of 28 residential units, which meets the minimum density guidelines of 30 units per hectare as per the plan area. So I'm not sure if there's anything else specifically you want me to speak to. Just that, as you've noticed in the plans, the two are linked. There is a proposed road that would go through phase 3 and then again through phase 2, so that we have a through road from Wren Drive to Meadowlark Drive. The applicant has informed me that the home that faces 74th Avenue would be retained, so they would do the subdivision in 2 phases. They'd retain the home on 74th Avenue so that they can use it for a home for people that will be building the units in the area. And then once those units are completed, they'll probably buy one of the units, and then the last 3 homes on 74th Avenue would be constructed. So again, this package also went to outside agencies, including the Ministry of Transportation, Fortis, TELUS, etc. For comment, no concerns were raised, and preliminary approval for this phase 3 was also obtained from Ministry of Transportation on January 17th of 2020, and the sign was posted on the subject property. Notification given in accordance with the Local Government Act, as mentioned by Mayor McCordoff. So again, that's about it at this time. Thanks, Mayor McCordoff.
Okay, thank you. And we do not have, we'll do the correspondence first. So we have received a letter from Sharon Pittet dated February the 20th, a video submission from Isla Petreny-Mackenzie, and a letter from Isla Petreny-Mackenzie and Ralph Petreny, and we have a letter from Colleen Litton. Now, do I need to read this letter again? I read it for the last one, so I'm okay? All right. The first presentation is for the applicant. Ms. McKay, is there anyone here that is?
No, not that I can see.
The applicant is not here, nor anybody representing the applicant?
No.
Okay, so then is there anyone, has anyone signed up, Mrs. Hilson, to speak? No. All right, so nobody has signed up to speak, but I will certainly ask if there is anyone who wishes to speak to this particular application. I will ask for a second time if there's anyone who wishes to speak to this application. And I will ask a third time if there's anyone who wishes to speak to this application. And hearing none, I will declare that this meeting is adjourned. If Councillor Bennett and Councillor Rhodes are okay with that, all in favor?